Now, I think it's all safe to assure that this chapter had a lot of stuff that we kind of want to see with the final chapter of Fairy Tail. We want to see a little bit of conclusion with some of the side characters. We had more of the plots thickening with what the hell is going on with, like, Toka. What is, like, with all of this stuff around her. She's a cat girl. She might be evil. She might be like something more sinister. We don't know what is up with her. But the fact of the matter is that we came, our characters as well came to a little bit of the conclusion with exactly what they're going to do with their dragon problem. And as well that these fish people are sacrificing people. Yeah, let's talk about that, although that's probably not as dark as we see it. So, let's talk about Fairy Tail Team B at the moment. Let's talk about Gargiel and Julia's side before we kind of jump into back to Natsu and the gang, because this is clearly what this manga's been doing, and it is like making sure and consistent for a while that we are just going to be spending as much time with half the manga focusing on them and then on the other. So let's talk about the Toka section first, which they immediately, we ended off last week with like, that's the tail. That's the tail, Gargiel. Like, it's like, yeah, no shit. There's a tail there, and then it suddenly disappears. Now, I was saying, like, oh, was this something with Lizana roaming around, or like with like Miro, where it's like, oh, don't worry about that. That's something to do with animal changing, and it's like, and exactly when it's just like they both scream out a tail, and it's like she goes, huh? What did you mean a tail like that? Do you all have a agreeing with that? You're a cool fairy tale atoll, ha 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 ha, like that. And I'm like, no, that's very much a tail. What the fuck is going on? And it's like, no. Thing is though, is Gargiel, Panther Lily, and Julia, all of them got, like, you know, Gargiel and Julia can be called a little bit kooky and wacky sometimes, but I think when you talk like even Panther, who's like a very stern, serious kind of character, is like, no, I fucking saw that as well. And even Levy's just like, are you gonna show you're not imagining things? It's like, bitch, I know me and you, we're knocking boots at the moment, we're kind of the thing at the moment, an item, but like, yeah, no. He's like, I was just sure, I'm sure it's just my boyfriend's crazy, like, realization, because we know how they were at the end of the series, like, if people remember the final chapter, like, there was talks of a baby in the mix, so whether or not, like, I would like that to be a thing that they talk about, whether or not that the fact that like Wendy heard it and so did Lucy, and the fact that there were words of a baby being wrote around. I'm curious if that's going to be something that comes up later with Gargiel and Levy, whether or not that'd just be a small little bit of side note that he kind of hears afterwards when he takes care of this. Like, I would actually find that very shocking thing, and I know a lot of the Gargiel and Levy fans would like to hear that it's like, hey, so, you know, I'm kind of pregnant. Like, just say about that, it's like, yeah, and it's twins, just like the light novel, which, by the way, that's a whole thing, which we'll try and cover at some point, which, light novel, but one of my favourite moments in this chapter was not even with the A-Team, it was when we got to see Sabretooth. And there's this really nice moment of like that we get to see Serrano and Yukino, and turns out this is what's been happening with like with Angel. Like, this is what she's been going, or Serrano, depending on which name you want to go with. And like one thing I thought this was really nice is that she joined up with Sabretooth because Yukino like stayed there and she really enjoys it, and seeing the two of them finally having, because this was a bond where it's like a lot of people kind of forgot a lot about that, and it wasn't like, apart from like I think the one chapter that they had and all that, there wasn't too much time that we spent with these two like kind of getting an aftermath and recuperating. But it's a really nice part where it was like the two sisters are actually getting back together and actually spending time with each other, and it was like she decided like she's pretty much packed up all her evil dudes and everything, and especially as well with like Jalal's organization. And I was like, no, I want to actually join like Sabretooth, and I want to spend time with my sister. That was the thing. And you get to see like Sting and Rogue are there, like Sting there, like kind of like head honcho, like master on there, and like kind of Rogue's like kind of like helping him behind the scenes. And it's just like he was passing through the area and he wanted to let them know, because it's like, I need all the guilds to know about this right now. And it's like especially the people I trust, so he's passing this photo around, and he's like, you know, the head honcho's going around on there, and he's like, look, we need to talk about this. I can't exactly say who this is right now, but, you know, like, we need to check on it. And it turns out it's Toka. I mean, like, out of everyone and all that, we got, like, when we get to see on there, it was just like, they made a joking matter on there, where it's like, oh my, you're interested in another woman than us? And I'm like, no, that's not what the whole thing is going on right now. You know, especially know that shit. But, like, when we're, like, looking at it, it's like, that's not her real name, that's an alias she's going by at the moment, and it's just like, we don't know anything about her at the moment, but that is the current picture that we get to see of her, and Joel is specifically saying all that. Let me make one thing clear: if you find her, don't interact with her in any sense. So the more and more they're just trying to go down this rabbit hole of like, Toka's a problem, she is going to be a threat, even Joel's after her. So he is pretty much right now, like, I'm assuming he's literally begun this investigation, because I'll be like, wouldn't your first fucking thing be like to inform like Fairy Tail and arrest the other people about this right now? Like, you need to go and like let everyone know about this, whereas like, she's a problem. Like, all we've got so far is there's a tail. She seemingly had Bria. She knows seemingly information about Bria and Dark Guild. Not to, yeah, like the tail, Bria, and just sort of how she's been acting has been kind of like a little bit of the getaway about, where it's like, yeah, so what's up with her? Like what is exactly up with this character and everything around her? And now we've got Jalal, who's talking about who knows information, or at least knows something about like whoever this Toka really is. So we're gonna have to wait and see where that's gonna be going down. So then we cut back to like Team A, which is like, you know, Natsu, Lucy Gray, like all of them on there. And one thing when we get to see them talking about is they kind of address the dragon issue, where since they've been trapped up and put in prison, and all of a sudden note is like, actually Natsu hasn't got a scarf because Lucy hasn't got a bra, so she's like using the scarf. I'm like, well, that's the most action that Natsu's going to be getting, because boy oh boy does he not want to do it. Like, originally I liked how I was like starting off and saying, hey, like, this manga doesn't seem so ecchi as like the original Fairy Tail, and I love how like I was so wrong and it just went straight out the window, and they like, oh Lucy, you'll just like, even in like the other spin-off mangas and stuff like that, and even the second one's like, oh, that'll just stay the same for the most part no matter what, even though Natsu's like, I don't care like about that. Like, they've just been so turned off to like Lucy showing off skin at this point. It's just like, I've seen you naked before, I don't care, just like, let's go, just straight up pull. But they mentioned is like humans from the other day, like what after like the water god. One thing when they were saying about that is like addressing, because apparently there's another like human seemingly put her down here. And what Elsaria was saying about these dragons and all that is like, we're here to defeat the water dragon god, and it's like, no, Lucy has to remind Natsu, where it's like, seal them. So you know, we don't have to defeat them, but basically, like, let's just say and all that, we either calm him down, we convince him to like quiet down, like, technically that, like, she's thinking it in the way is like, that is sealing as well. We don't have to officially kill these dragons. So I kind of like now that's like they're taking it into a different perspective. I mentioned it as well when we first talked about it, when it mentioned like taking on 5 dragon gods, because that's to the point where it's like, that's something that they just like, even as well where it's like it deals with the biggest issue, I would say, or the biggest concern for this manga was the fact that it's like, we're not dealing with one person that's on Acnologia's level, we're dealing with 5 fucking people here. And with like the forces that they have right now, and what we've even as well, I've been rereading some of the like the latest stuff, because I was curious about some of like just the details and all that. I was like, I want to kind of catch myself back up to reading that stuff, so when the Fairy Tail finale happens, I have a little more context with some of the chapter and manga, because a lot of it is just escaping me on there. And I was like, yeah, when you think about where he was on that level, on that scale, we're not, whether or not they're talking about like where Acnologia was at the very end, when he was absorbing like shit, like the concept of time and stuff. It was like, these guys, like, we've seen something about like what like Merc can do. We see, like, we probably imagine what some of these other ones can control Earth. Like, there's probably a fire one that's like on an insane level. Like, you just have to think where it's like, we can either seal these away, Mafuba style, like Dragon Ball, we put them away that way, or we just generally just de-escalate the scenario, and this seems to be one of them happening right now. So And Urza has to kind of remind Natsu, like, of all people, where it's like, you of all people should know that not all dragons are evil. We've got two people right here that were raised by them. So you should know that, like, there are people like Igneel, there are people like Grandine, Metallicana, like, you know, Skirdrum, Weisslogia, I believe they're like the main dragons, like those ones. So maybe they had the chance and all that. Like as well as like how Seria has described and all that. It's like they are a problem. He didn't describe if all of them, but like clearly some of them they are going to have to fight back on. At the end of the day, it's a battle shonen, so we are going to be having to deal with them or that way. So Natsu kind of makes a little vow where it's like, even if they try and start hurting my friends or start hurting people like that, like on there, but it's like he puts a finger on any, you know, I'm going to slay them all. It's just simple as matter, like as he goes into there, which then leads into everyone like using Gemini's power, which leads them transforming into like little fishes, which is like weird because you get to see like they all have like little symbols on them. So like Urza has like the heart cruise like thing roaming around on a fish body. Natsu has like the Natsu one is like, I was like, oh, he actually has this really cool flame tribal tattoo. I was like, no, it's just like small little details. Lucy has the stars and happy like cats, things like that. Weirdly enough, like everyone transforms into a fish apart from Wendy. Wendy turns into like a weird jellyfish for some reason. Like, not even gonna question that shit. Just sure, why not? Like on there, but it's just like then it gets to the problem where it's like Natsu, Lucy, and like will go one way, and it's like we found a human, which is going to be sacrificed to the water god apparently. So we don't know what exactly is going on with her, but she's in this like her design really reminds me of like Lucy's like Aquarius design. It kind of reminds me of like something like that, because especially with how like the chapter ends, is like she's got a guild mark on her, like on her shoulder. Like what's up with that? Like what is exactly up with her tribal gear that she's wearing and all that? Like where exactly does she come from? Like there's a lot that we have to go on this chapter. I think like this chapter, like, and especially it made me curious as well, because this manga, like we're 5 chapters into this manga already. We're already a month's worth of like material into this, like already past that. And I'm being very surprised by the pacing of this compared where like we were talking for a while where it's like we don't know how long this manga's going to be. You know how sometimes they can be 24, 50, like, you know, like 13 chapters, some of these, like obviously Fairy Tail Zero went on for a year, like technically in the magazine. So so far the pacing has been very surprising, like even as well when I think about like Mashima's like writing at the end, where it's like it was pretty fast paced in the manga with like how it was doing, and that's what a lot of people, and I even complained back then, well, I had issues with it, where it's like we needed some time to build on some of these characters and give them more reason, instead of just having boom, next chapter they're done instantly, you know, or like just getting 2 chapters, it's like, oh, there we go, that big serious fight's done. And then some of the other chapters as well, is just how they handle stuff. But I found this interesting that we're setting up a lot of stuff for like just the first dragon, and it makes me curious if we're going to be getting that for the rest of them. I don't think we are. Like there's probably going to be events happening where it's like maybe some of these elder dragons are either going to team up, they're going to fight with one another, because clearly they're going to be on their own different playing fields, where it's like, no, this is my territory, and we don't know how the rest of them act. We just know how lackadaisical Merc is, especially out of all of them, like from what we can seemingly get an impression on. But we need to see more of him so far, because all we've seen is his human form, and we haven't seen anything else other than that and like his associate on there. So very interesting to find out with the next chapter. I really want to know what's going on there. So definitely, I like with this chapter and all that, when I finally got my time to actually check this out and read it and all that, this was very curious. And I will say, pacing wise, a little slow what I'm used to with Fairy Tail and all that, which is a nice, decent surprise. And there was a few, like, I think I got more out of the side stuff with some of the characters. Like, I really liked the Solano and, like, Yukino stuff. I think that was a really nice little part where it's like, oh shit, they actually kind of got kept up in touch with each other, like these 2 sisters. And I was like, that was a nice little moment. There was, like, a few little funny moments in there. But, and also as well, setting up with Jalal, he's now going to be fully involved in this with Sabretooth as well, having that. Like, I don't think Sabretooth is going to be fully involved in this manga. Like, it depends on the scale of like what Toga's really going to be bringing, but we don't know yet. So whether or not she, like, if she's even going to be related to like the other dragon god, like if she's one of them or something. Like if they pull a fast one like that, where it's like she's one of the dragon gods, or she's an attendant to one of them, like maybe that's one thing that we have with like all these dragon gods. Like maybe they have an attendant and she's one of them, but what the fuck's up with the cattail? Like why does she know all this information? We're just gonna have to wait and see where it's all gonna go down. But that's all for me. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys though next time.